Okay, welcome back to Mix It Up. I don't know, I'm saying welcome back. Maybe this is the first episode because we haven't released any episodes yet. But let me just, set the tone for you a little bit. It's coming into mid-September. The days are getting shorter. The leaves change color. Autumn it's happening all around us. I actually really like autumn. I think the end of summer can be a little bit depressing, but autumn brings a lot of great stuff, including two of my favorite things. Autumnal kind of cinnamon buns. They're kind of very autumnal kind of, snack, fall, whatever part of the world you're from. Don't know what autumn is in a lot of other languages, so you know what I'm saying, English speaking parts of the world. But don't worry about that, okay? And pumpkin spice lattes have kind of become the ultimate basic bitch drink from Starbucks. I just really like the idea of them. The taste itself is not that great, but we have combined the two. We're kind of gonna make these pumpkin spice buns today. So it's kind of like a Swedish cinnamon bun meets a pumpkin spice latte. There's actually not really any coffee element, but they're pumpkin spice latte buns, kind of, except for not latte. Pumpkin spice buns. PSBs? Permanent PSBs. It's a little Irish joke there. Anyone's with permanent TSB, you'll understand. Okay, so I've got the ingredients we're going to need to make these laid out in front of me right here. Also, the buns we are making today, we can definitely make a vegan version of those. If you're interested in that, please leave a comment below, get in touch, slide into my DMs on Instagram. If you would like me to do a vegan kind of cinnamon style, pumpkin style bun recipe, that's doable. But I just thought we would start out with the basic bun recipe today. So here's what we're gonna need to make the buns. Right here we've got 550 grams of strong flour. We've got one beaten egg. So this is 30 grams of fresh yeast. Dry yeast is also fine. I will, there'll be a graphic somewhere around the screen here explaining the conversion rate of dry yeast to fresh yeast. Then we have 45 grams of castor sugar, just plain white castor sugar. 75 grams of butter. This doesn't have to be cubed or even soft because it's going to be melted straight away. We're going to get on that in a second. Half a teaspoon of ground cardamom. And then we've got half a teaspoon of salt. Finally, we have 225 mils of milk, just regular old milk, straight from the cow. It's good for you. Maybe it isn't. Them bones, the calcium. I don't know. Them bones, the calcium. That hasn't changed. Okay, so we're gonna start making the recipe. Step numero uno. We are gonna melt this butter. Turn it up on full, baby. We got no time to waste. The pumpkin spice buns are not gonna make themselves. So get this nice and hot. Get your butter in here. Oh, it came out clean. That's really great. Let's get this melted. So basically, when you're making anything with yeast, you want to get whatever you're going to dissolve your yeast in, the kind of liquid base at a nice, body temperature. Seb always says blood temperature, which I think just it's not vampires making the dough, okay? It's human beings. I mean, are vampires human beings? They kind of are. They take human shape. Are there vampires that are animals? Are there animal vampires? Are there, dinosaur vampires? Is it just humans? Just sexy humans? So we just want to melt this butter basically, and then we're going to add in our, cold milk. So the butter should be nice and bubbling and hot. When you add in your milk in the pot that the butter was heated in, it's going to create a nice kind of body temperature for the yeast, which is what we want. So that's ideal. Is this ASMR? Do people like this sound? I don't think so. So it's melted, but we just want to get it hot. Them bones, the calcium, them bones. So as you can see, this is bubbling up nicely. This is ready to go. Our butter's good and hot. So we're going to turn off the heat and we're going to bring it back to the table. So make sure you have a nice pot stand here to put your hot pot on. You don't want to burn your gorgeous rented apartment table. So our butter is still sizzling away here like crazy, okay? It just can't wait to be made into buns. So we're gonna add our milk in here. Give it a wee mix. Not that buttery goodness. We've got our milk in there, and now we're gonna add our fresh yeast. I've got a little scraper over here prepared for such an occasion. So just get that in there. Whoop. Just scrape every little bit out of the bowl. Just wanna get it nice and dissolved. Alternatively, with this recipe, you could use a sourdough starter, a really good sourdough starter, instead of fresh yeast or dry yeast. I know a lot of people over lockdown and during the pandemic have been, nursing sourdough starters, so this is another great recipe to use up with that. Yet again, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but if we get enough comments, maybe we'll do sourdough buns. That could be exciting. So our yeast looks to be dissolved in there, so we're going to add our sugar from earlier, this bad boy. So that's our sugar going in. And while we're at it, we're going to add in our spice, our ground cardamom. We're also going to add in our half teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to whisk those guys together. So far, as you can see, this recipe is pretty easy. And then the last thing we're going to get in here is our beaten egg, yeah? Now, remember, this is one beaten egg, but we're only going to add half the egg, and the rest we're going to use later on. Oh, good save, Holly. And the rest we're going to use later on for egg washing the buns. Okay, so we're ready to kind of go on to the final stage of making the dough. This recipe is kind of unusual because normally in baking, you're always taught to add wet to dry. This recipe is the other way around. It's a little bit unusual. So we're actually going to get all our liquid in first. And then we're going to add our flour bit by bit. Notice I've got a dough hook attached. So we're going to start out adding a little bit in here before we get it going. So we've added in a bit there. And now let's get it going a wee bit before we add any more. We just don't want this to be lumpy. But don't worry, it's not going to be lumpy. So just get it going on a slow speed. You don't want flour going everywhere. You can crank up the speed a little bit just to get it more incorporated a little faster. Then we're going to slow it down again and we're going to add some more flour. You can see where this is going. Okay, very roughly, we added kind of a third of the flour at a time. Get this guy back on. And we're into the final furlong here of our... Just chuck the rest in, guys. Just chuck the rest in, okay? Oh, yeah. So this has been mixing for about 10 minutes. I'm going to turn it off now and show y'all. Your dough is not sticky, it's tacky. It doesn't wear a lot of rhinestones, but it's still extremely tacky. It might not have, you know, plastic flamingos in the front garden, but it's still pretty tacky. So yeah, not sticky, but tacky, kind of like Play-Doh actually. Yeah, I'm gonna stop touching it now. And we're gonna take it out of the bowl and we're just gonna bring it into a bowl. So we're gonna get this out onto the table and just so scrape this off. It should come off pretty easy, like should be tacky, but like I said, like not that sticky. If it's mad sticky, it probably needs a little bit more flour, but normally it will be, this should be fine, basically. Now, obviously all flours are a little bit different and the hydration levels of like different flours are different. So, you know, you might need to adjust your recipe slightly in terms of the amount of liquid you add or the amount of flour you add, but it's going to be about this approximation is fine. So just, we want to scrape out all the bits of dough from the bowl until she's nice and somewhat clean. She's pretty clean. You don't really need to flour your table, to be honest. I don't want to add any more flour into this. So basically just want to get this into a nice bowl. Bring up all the kind of corners like a big dumpling. And just do that. And then just kind of shape it up with our hands like this. So the top is nice and smooth. Just kind of tucking all the corners in. So we got our nice smooth top like so. Taut. Seb just said it should be taut at the top. So just kind of tuck it in at the bottom. So what you're doing when you're shaping the bowl like this, you're pulling from the top to the bottom. So you're actually pulling from the top to the bottom. I'm doing this kind of in as slow as I can to show you. So you're just pinching it as you're turning it. So the top is going to be nice and taut. And when you touch it like this, it should spring back like so. So you can see that when you touch it, it springs back, which is perfect. So get this back into your bowl like so. The little baby, get him in the bottom and he is going to prove, okay? So we are going to let this dough prove. I'm just going to cover it with a clean tea towel here. Cover it like so. And we're going to let him prove in a warm place for about an hour-ish, maybe slightly longer, or until it's doubled in size. You want to get a really nice prove at this stage. So this is called the bulk fermentation stage. So it's the first prove. So we're going to do that. And in the meantime, we're going to make our filling and then relax for a little bit. You know, it's not, you know, this is a nice casual, this is a lazy Sunday recipe, okay? You know, there's a little bit of work, but then you can stop and sit for a bit, which is a great kind of recipe, okay? So we're going to let this prove over here over on top of the oven. And I've got the oven turned on to 180 degrees because we are going to make our roasted pumpkin filling for these guys now. So we're going to go back over here and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? All right, great. So we are going to make our filling for these pumpkin spice buns. So first thing we have here, I have peeled and de-seeded one kind of roughly this size pumpkin. I'd say it's about 750 grams to 1 kilo of pumpkin. This mix that we're going to make today, you might have some left over. Maybe you're not going to use it all for the buns, but I will go on record as saying it is unbelievable spread on toast. So don't worry if you have some left over. That's not going to be a problem. So we've got our pumpkin here, and we've got a little bit of butter. This is about, I say a little bit, it's a decent amount of butter, you know. It's quite a bit of butter. I think it's about 50 grams, okay? But we're going to eyeball it later when we do it, so you won't be confused. I'm going to tell you what I'm putting in as I'm doing it, so you're not going to be like, wait, how much? What? How much of this? This is about 50 grams of butter. We might not use all this. We've got some sugar here. We've got about 40 grams of sugar, just plain castor sugar. We have some forest honey. This is very good quality honey. You can use maple syrup either. It doesn't have to be honey, but just kind of a nice, you want to add some kind of sugar element that isn't just raw sugar or something that has a little bit of flavor behind it. So we're going to use this. And then this is a neutral oil we're just going to use to cook the butternut squash in. And then we have vanilla essence. There's just like a little drop in there. That'll go in later on as well. Some cardamom. And then we have some cinnamon, some ground cinnamon as well. So first thing we're going to want to do, you want to just get yourself a small baking tray. So we're going to get these pumpkins in the tray. Get them all in there. Just give it a little shake to spread them out so they're not all on top of each other. And then we are going to add just a little drizzle of neutral oil just to aid in the cooking process. And then we're going to add just a shake or two of cinnamon. Just a little bit. And then we're going to add just a little shake of cardamom as well. Just a little bit, like I said. And then we're just going to mix these together with our hands. Our clean, freshly washed hands. We're going to mix it up with just get them all coated and all nice. Once that is done, these guys are ready to go into the oven. So as I said earlier, our oven has been preheated to 180 degrees. We also use this oven as storage, so ignore everything else in there. And we're going to get these guys in. They're probably going to take about 40 minutes. We're going to check back in about half an hour, 40 minutes. We just want them to be soft all the way through and a nice golden color. So it takes about 40 minutes, give or take, all right? So I'll check back with you then. Okay, let's give a wee check on our pumpkin. As you can see, it's nice and cooked, I think. Just gonna insert a little knife. Make sure it goes through smoothly. Perfect. Yeah, they're totally done. So they're ready to make our delicious pumpkin spiced filling. So we're gonna take it back to the table for this one, okay? So to make the filling for the pumpkin spice buns, you're going to need a blender. So what we're going to do is we're going to get all these guys into the blender. This is obviously very hot, so you know you don't want to burn your little fingers. So just get these guys in here. Cool. Okay, so we've got our pumpkin in the blender, and we're just going to add a few more wee bits. So this is obviously like a sweet mix. We're going to add in our sugar here. Like I said, this is about 30 grams of sugar. Get that in here. Like, we want it to be sweet. Not overly sweet, but pretty sweet. And then we're going to get in some vanilla essence. This is about just like, this is only a tiny drizzle, maybe half a teaspoon. It was basically just whatever was left in this bottle. Just a very small amount. We're going to get another little dash of cinnamon in. We want it to be nice and spicy. These are pumpkin spice buns after all. Then another pinch of ground cardamom. Pinch. Then we want to get in a good tablespoon of our forest honey. Put a good tablespoon in. Yeah, like a decent amount, like a really good amount. Get that in there. Maple syrup would work really well here either. Okay, so we want to blitz all this stuff together. Don't worry, the butter's going to go in too, but we want to blitz this into a smooth paste first. And because the pumpkin is hot, we're going to get some kind of room temp butter in, and it's going to emulsify and make a nice thick spread, which is exactly what we want. So we're just going to blend this kind of slowly first. Thermomixes are great as well. They're great for many reasons. They're just really great blenders. Not Spawn, I don't work for Thermomix. So just turn the speed up on this guy a little bit. And we're going to turn this off, scrape down the sides and see what we're dealing with here. So we just want to scrape down the sides. It's already blitzing up nice and smooth. It doesn't matter if it's not totally smooth, like a little bit of texture is going to be nice in this after all. Back on with the blender. This time we're going to keep the lid off, and we're going to add in a butter a little bit at a time. Just getting our butter in there a few knobs at a time. So once all the butter has been added, we're going to take the lid off, take this guy out, and just kind of scrape down the sides and give this a taste. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's honestly unbelievable. It's so good. Oh my god. And we're just gonna whack it up on full for about a minute, just to make it as smooth as possible. Oh my god, so good. The lid back on, get this guy back on, and we're just gonna whack it up on full. It's very loud. Okay, that's probably enough of that. So turn this dude off, take him out, and we've got this little bowl here that we're gonna scrape him into. Make sure you always scrape the lids off, very important. Oh my god, it looks so good. You're gonna see now in a minute. So basically what you're left with is this like golden sweet, a little bit salty, spicy, pumpkin, buttery puree, and it's so good. It's so much better. Like most cinnamon buns or cardamom buns, the insides will just be butter and sugar, which is very nice. Like there's nothing wrong with that. That's really tasty, obviously. They're popular for a reason. But this just adds another kind of lovely autumnal element to it, and it's just really, really delicious. So you can see how thick it is when you do this in the spatula. It's thick, you know, it doesn't run, which is perfect. Oh my god. We're going to set this aside and we're going to go check the progress of our dough for our buns. They should be ready right about now. So our dough has been proving for about an hour-ish. Voila! It's absolutely massive, which is great. Oh, it's bouncy and nice. It's proven really, really, really nicely, which is great. I'm over the friggin' moon. We want to bring back our dough card that we used earlier to take this out. Before we tip it out onto the surface, we're going to flour our surface a little bit. Got some plain flour I have over here. So just dust your surface a wee bit. Now we're getting into the really, fun part. Let's tip this bad boy out. Oh my god, it feels so good. Oh my god, it feels just fantastic. So we're going to just flour this guy up. Oh my god, it feels amazing. We're going to bunch it up into corners like we did before. And we're going to do like we did before. Just pinching it down to the middle. Rolling pin. Let's roll this bad boy out. It rolls really easily. It's very soft. It's just a real pleasure to work with, honestly. It's really, this recipe is a joy from start to finish. It's ideal. It's the perfect Sunday recipe or the perfect day off recipe. Not everybody works the same hours. If you got a day off, you want to have something for breakfast, you get up early and make this. We're going to turn her again. Turn her. All right, so once it gets to about this thickness, I'm not very good with measurements. I would say that's probably like 1 centimeter. Half a centimeter. I've been saying that's half a centimeter. I've told you I'm not very good with measurements. Great, now we're ready to start making the pumpkin buns. We've got our dough ready. We've got our mix over here. You're going to want to get a palette knife. If you don't have a palette knife, you can just use a regular knife or a spoon. A spoon is fine. If you don't have a palette knife, you can just use a spoon. But palette knife, I have one. Like I said, I'm a chef. Oh, shut up. We know you're a chef. But if you have a palette knife, use it because it's just going to make this way, way, way easier. We're just going to do rolls, which is definitely by far the easiest way to do it. We can experiment around with some other shapes. Maybe I can show you how to do some other shapes. But for today, we're just going to do the rolls. It's definitely the easiest. And honestly, it's one of the ones that I think is the nicest and looks the best. So no losers. We're all winners. Make sure when you're doing this, you want to leave a good bit of space here with no filling. Because when you roll them, this filling is all going to come out. You really don't want it to get too messy. Right, so let's get going. This is very exciting. This is always the most exciting bit. So we're going to get our mix out here. Don't get it all out because we need to see. Oh, and it just spreads so nice. Okay, we're probably going to need to use all this. So just get a spatula to scoop the rest out. It's like spreading perfectly room temperature butter on toast. It's that same kind of really nice sensation. Okay, once this is spread out like this, you want to have some space at the end, at the top, and a little bit at the sides, because we're going to roll this up, and it might get a little bit messy, but don't worry about it. It's all gonna work out. So we're going to start rolling now. Perfect. This is quite delicate. It's going to be very soft because of the puree. So just take it easy. Try not to pinch the dough and break the dough. You really don't want that to happen, but if you do, it's not that big a deal. But perfect world scenario, that wouldn't happen. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's going to be fine. You just can't be afraid. You just gotta, whoa! You just gotta go for it, okay? And just when you get to this section here, just do a little bit of egg wash. This is the egg we had earlier. Just to kind of, this will help when it's actually cooking. It'll help it from kind of unfurling a little bit. Just not mad, just a little bit. Just a little bit of egg wash. Fold this guy up the way. And now we're gonna wanna cut these into little sections. So we need to get our tray ready to go into the oven. And look, what do you know? Someone's already done it. It must be magic. You're also going to need muffin cases for these because it just helps them to stick together in the oven and not unfurl. And it's just generally easier if you're storing them or anything like that. So we've got our roll all rolled up here. You're going to have some dough at the end that doesn't have any filling in it. So you're just going to trim that down first. What me and Seb normally do is make a little kind of chef's treat ugly, cinnamon roll. So you can do that if you want, or a pumpkin roll. So you want to do kind of about 2 fingers width size for your cinnamon rolls. So I normally kind of mark them. Just makes the portioning easier. So first we're going to need to get our tray full of muffin cases. Okay, so we're going to cut our first roll. So you want to do the kind of ugly side at the bottom. Great. They look great. Feel free to lick your fingers between each one. Little tip when you're doing this, when you cut them, kind of pinch them from both sides, both ends. Try and keep them round. And put the ugly side at the bottom. You can see what I mean about the pastry cases kind of keeping everything in shape now. So now that our tray is complete, you can notice the ones at the end were a little bit smaller than the ones in the middle, but that's fine. They're all going to cook at roughly the same speed. They are looking delightful. So these now need to prove again for about another half an hour or 40 minutes until they're 1.5 times their size. So our oven is preheating to 200 degrees. It's already been on since the pumpkins, so it's already warm. But we're going to leave these on top of the oven just like we did with the dough previously, and we're going to let them prove, and then we're going to come back, egg wash them, and we get them in the oven. So congrats on reaching this point. Okay, great. We're back, and these guys have proven really, really, really nicely. You can see they've kind of filled out. They look a lot more like what they should. We've got a little bit of egg wash in this bowl. It's just literally the egg we had left over and a little bit of milk. So we're just going to brush these guys very, very gently. Get them all nice and brushed up. Now that all of these have been egg washed, we're just going to give a little sprinkle of sugar. If you had brown sugar, now would be the time to use it, but we don't have any, so just a little bit of white sugar. Okay, these are all egg washed and sugared up. Now we're going to get them into the oven. If you want to see the absolute monstrosity that we made with the trim, it's over here. Look at the bloody stain of it, like. Okay, so this is going in, all right? It's preheated to 200 degrees. It's ready to go in. Timer for 12 minutes? Let's time it for 12 minutes. I'll check back in 12 minutes. Oh, that wasn't planned at all. Okay, so we actually ended up putting them on for another, how many minutes? 2. So it takes 14 minutes, basically. That's how long these ones took, and they look great, and they smell even better. Oh, wow. They're crispy on the top. They're soft in the middle. We're going to put these on a really nice plate, and we're going to enjoy them with some coffee, and we're just going to have a really, really nice time. And if you try this at home, please let me know. Slide into my DMs on Instagram. I'm at Holly Dalton Chef. Leave a comment below the video on YouTube. And don't be afraid to mix it up. See you next time.